Good morning, Sawubona. I'm here speaking on behalf of Sub-Sahara Engineering. My name is Rufaro. I'm a civil and geotechnical engineer. And today we're going to be talking about when NHBRC inspectors say no. So, what is the NHBRC? So, the NHBRC is the legal protector of the South African homeowners. So, they provide a 5-year structural warranty on all new builds, and it ensures all builders are registered and every project is enrolled before construction starts to guarantee a safety net against major defects. That being said, the NHBRC has NHBRC inspectors. So they act as the technical guardians of this warranty. So they visit site at critical stages, for example, at founding, at slab pour, or at roofing, to ensure the construction followed the SANS 10400 standard and approved engineering plans. So their goal is to prevent structural failures and protect the home owner safety and also their financial investment, which would be the home itself. So that being said, for example, you've put everything into the build. You've put everything into your house, right? And the roof is on, the final stage, or it's on the final stage of construction, and the contractor is asking for their final payment so that they can finish off the work. You're ready to move in with your family. Then an inspector walks on site. They spend 10 minutes. They look around. They refuse to sign off the building. So no occupancy certificate is issued. Therefore, the bank can't issue a bond payment. And the main problem is this is not just a non-compliance notice. So they've stalled the whole project, right? So what do you do now? That's what we want to talk about. So the problem, I think I've explained it. So more or less today, I want to discuss the solution, right? So when an NHBRC inspector says no, what can you do? If you're going through this, if you know someone who's going through this, this is more or less the video to explain how they can be helped. Maybe we can help, maybe other engineers can help, but the idea or the premise is simply to explain how they can be helped. Okay, so look, in South Africa, we know how this goes. Most people think a rejected inspection is about a small mistake on site, and usually that's what the contractor will tell you. But usually it's about paperwork that wasn't done right from the start. So the inspector isn't there to be difficult. So they're not the bad guy, right? They're there because they can't take the risk of a build that doesn't have the proper professional backing. So the inspectors are never the bad guy. They're actually looking out for the homeowner. And sometimes that means protecting the homeowner from themselves. So if your engineer hasn't been on site, or if your forms aren't in order, the council, they won't budge, most definitely. And that's their job, because they are the ones who are now carrying the risk for the next 5 years, which only makes sense. So if you haven't engaged or you haven't worked with the correct engineer, then most definitely you're in trouble, and council is trying to rectify that before you move in and before they become liable within the first 5 years, more or less. So, the three biggest reasons for a rejection, or the three biggest reasons that we have seen for rejections, are generally because you have a ghost engineer, so a person who's never been on site who's just going to rubber stamp it. The A19 roof, there's a deadlock. I'll go into that, and obviously NHBRC misalignment. Okay, so like I said, in my experience, projects get stuck for three main reasons. So this would be the missing Form 4. So the inspector asks for the appointment of a competent person, and if your engineer just rubber stamped the plans but never showed up to inspect the foundation or the slab, the inspector would know this, of course. So they won't sign off on a ghost engineer, most definitely. And that's what happens a lot, especially in places like Gauteng, because people are always trying to cut costs or trying to make a quick buck. And that just also hurts the engineering profession, because obviously we just don't want people signing off on things they've never seen, because that then makes it seem as if our sign off or our professional judgment is cheap. So that hurts the profession as a whole. If that is actually happening, you should report it to the engineering council. So you should report that to EXA, because that is most definitely unacceptable. Moving on to reason number 2, which would be the A19 roof deadlock. So you can't legally occupy a house in South Africa without a signed off A19 certificate for the roof structure, of course. So if your trusses weren't vetted and your engineer is nowhere to be found, then you're in a deadlock. So everything then just comes back to not having a professional engineer, or not having a good engineer on site who is doing the correct processes or operating within their competency. So lastly, what I usually see is that NHBRC misalignment. So if the build is on the ground that doesn't match the plans that were used for enrollment with NHBRC, the inspector's hands are tied because they can't approve a deviation. So that hasn't been technically vetted. So for example, the building levels don't match, or the topography of the site does not match what's on the plans. So they can't do anything. So that it would be the three main reasons why they can't sign off or they can't approve the build. So now we'll jump into how we can help as Sub-Sahara Engineering. So what we do is we act as a bridge between you and the NHBRC. So at Sub-Sahara Engineering, we don't believe the homeowner should suffer because of a technical deadlock, because obviously that's ridiculous. So we work to support you and the NHBRC to make sure the job gets done right. We aren't here to argue with council. We are here to provide that forensic vetting and the structural reporting they need so that they can give you that yes, and you can get your life back on track. You can move into your beautiful house. So if your project is stuck, whether today or if it's stuck tomorrow, don't just sit there and let it cost you money. Talk to us, because we specialize in project rescue and NHBRC in compliance. So we will assist you in getting your certificates and getting your family into that new home. So please click the link below or feel free to DM me, and let's get your build on the move again. My WhatsApp phone number is also at the bottom. Feel free to reach out. Till next time, cheers, guys.